What's up, Earth Rockers? It's your boy Shovatar here, aka McNasty, with another Castlevania 3 commentary video. This one's going to be slightly different, no Syfa this time, so I'm going to have to actually play the game. Going from playing with Syfa to not playing with Syfa is sort of like going from training wheels to actually riding a bike, where I'm no longer going to have access to lightning to just cheese everything. This is going to be a Grant run. Big difference. The only difference between a Syfa run and a Grant run in terms of the route is that I'm going to be doing the clock tower after this level, and then the rest of it's going to be the normal Syfa route. But not having Syfa and having Grant opens up some interesting possibilities, makes some things harder, some things easier, and I'll talk about that when we get to it. Um, I don't really have anything to say about level 1 because we don't have Grant yet. Um, I was only going to do a commentary for one because I have two Grant videos. I have this one, and I'm going to post another one where it's going to be a hard mode 1cc. And I was originally only going to commentate one of them, but I was originally only going to commentate the 1cc. I already have it recorded, but something happened in this run towards the very end that I really, really want to talk about and showcase. Um, and that moment alone is pretty much why I'm doing this, but I'll try to have some insight in the meantime. Um, level one of Castlevania 3. What is there to say? There's really nothing to say. It's preparing you for things you're going to see later. It's preparing you to deal with bone throwers, Medusa heads. I've already talked on their videos about how to deal with Medusa heads, but I guess I could say again here that if you're in a position like you are in that last room to just stand still and deal with them when they come towards you, that's what you do. Otherwise, you have to like run past them. I feel like their trajectories are slightly different in Castlevania 1 than in Castlevania 3. I feel like in Castlevania 1, they kind of like curve up higher. And then in Castlevania 3, they're closer to the ground. But I don't know. I'd have to do a direct comparison. Why am I okay? What am I doing? I don't know why I don't know why I stood still there. This is an interesting section. This section can actually be problematic on hard mode, where everything does 4 damage. That's not necessary. What I did there, jumping up and throwing the holy water down, there's easier ways to do that, and I'm sure I'll have footage up later that will demonstrate an easier way to clear that room. But looking at this room when I'm used to its hard mode equivalent is sort of like looking at like a painting that's just a frame. I really don't have much to say because everything is so simple. I guess I guess it's worth pointing out that this boss can actually be tricky if you don't get hyper aggressive with them. Yeah, see, the fact that he's jumping at me here and like pinning me in a corner, if this was hard mode, that could have been really bad because in hard mode everything does 4 damage. If I had taken damage leading up to that point and then took damage again there, that would have been really, really bad. And that's sort of, I mean, it sounds obvious to say, but that's why normal is so much easier is because it's so much less punishing. But something that is just as difficult to do on normal as it is on hard mode is platforming. And we are now coming up to the level in this route that makes it different from the regular Syfa route, which is the clock tower, which is platforming hell for the first half, and then depending on your experience with Grant and with his capabilities, sort of a nice leisurely stroll in the bottom half. Going up here is basically, I mean, like nothing is happening. Um, this is an interesting level. It's optional, um, which I mean, all the stages a lot of the stages are technically optional if you just go to other stages. But this one's interesting in that it can just get fit into either route. It's sort of like an extra little burst of difficulty, which I think having Grant makes up for it. Grant is a really interesting character, and he is the companions in Castlevania 3, the spirits, whatever you want to call them. They exist on like a spectrum in terms of what they oh, got that jump first try. Good for me. They exist on a spectrum of what they help you with, where they either help you with combat or they help you with like utility, like moving around. Sypha is 100% a combat character. Alucard is basically 100% a utility character. Alucard is almost worthless in combat. There's a few very specific niche situations where Alucard can be useful in combat, but most of the time he's just the bat. Grant is kind of in the middle, where I'd say Grant is more of a utility character than a combat character, but he's still capable of holding on to things like the axe, and you can. There are situations in this game where having an axe on one character and then like the holy water on another is super useful, and I'm sure that's going to come up later. This part is really this part is tricky because something about these see, okay, the reason I'm freezing time there is because there's a little gap between the cog and the platform that's really easy to get knocked into. And the thing about these stages that like scroll up is that the bottom of the screen is death no matter where it is. Like if I had fallen off back there, it wasn't like I would have fallen all the way back down to the lower parts of the stage. No, if you hit the bottom of the screen, you die. The screen will move up, but it will never move back down. That's how all those stages work. That jump is tricky. Standing on those cogs, I don't really get how they work. Oh well. This part is probably this is the hardest part of the clock tower, and it's a great example of what I was talking about before with one of the two ways of dealing with Medusa heads. This is one where it's smarter to try to avoid them than it is to fight them. And having access to stairs, having access to consistent verticality is a great way to accomplish that because their waves, like the height and the depth, like the higher and low points in their waves is determined at the point where they spawn, and the middle point is like your altitude. So if you can get above them, they will never get to you. And stairs are really the only way to do that consistently. So that room seems really harsh, and it is really harsh, but the game also gives you the only tools you could possibly use to get yourself out of that situation. The stopwatch is also super important. This boss fight was actually really tricky for me at first because of how aggressive he is. It's kind of like the level 1 boss where he just like runs at you. But really it's not a problem. You just have to sort of aggress right back towards him. Just don't he if you let him sometimes he if I see if he hadn't died there, he would have climbed up on the ceiling and started throwing shit at me, which like wouldn't have been a problem. This boss fight is not difficult. All of the difficulty in the clock tower comes purely from executing the platforming. Executing the platforming and dealing with the Medusa heads. He dreamed he was turned into a ghost. The translation in Castlevania 3 is very literal. I can help you because I am very fast is not a statement with a whole lot of personality. He also said he was turned into a ghost, and that thing did not look like a ghost to me. Maybe that's another translation issue. When I first played this game, I thought that completing the clock tower would do more than just give you Grant. The fact that like a bridge collapses leading to Dracula's lair, I thought that would have like consequences later in the game and it would like change later levels somehow, but it doesn't. The only benefit you get is Grant, and Grant is a huge benefit, as you're going to see here. The whole reason that the game makes you go back down the clock tower after you climb it is because of Grant. It's because of the fact that he can do shit like that. Because if you know that about him, then he makes this part so much easier. The game is really strongly encouraging you to utilize him. When I first did this level, I didn't really understand how good Grant was. I didn't really get all of his capabilities, and I had a lot of trouble with this level. It was because it's like, why are you making me do this level twice? Well, you're not doing it twice. You're doing it once, and then you're like doing half of it because Grant can just fucking do that, fall all the way down half the rooms and avoid the Medusa heads. Grant actually ducks lower than Trevor or Syfa or Alucard do. If he ever is in front of a turret, he can actually duck completely underneath its shots, which is pretty insane. But that's not really why Grant is good. You saw earlier Grant was climbing around on walls and ceilings. There's a million different places where he can do that. The big benefit to having Grant is that he's going to make parts of 4 and parts of 9 way easier due to his maneuver abilities, his acrobatics. The fact that he can climb on walls like a spider. That's what I'm talking about. Here, the only reason I'm staying as Grant mostly for convenience sake. I said that Grant was half a utility character and half a combat character, but his combat capabilities are like he can do stuff like that. He can attack enemies that like aren't fighting him, but under most circumstances, that little shank that he has is not going to be useful. This is so cool. Ah, I fall in the sphere. Oh, I get bonked by the Medusa head. This is pretty rough. Whatever. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. I get out. Yeah, that's not the smoothest way to do that final stretch. You can fall like you can fall way faster and get out of there way faster, but that was fine. I got out, I didn't die. And that's all I really need. And I picked up another stopwatch on the way out, which I'm not sure if I ever make use of on Grant, but I guess we'll find out. In the Japanese version of the game, instead of that little short range stab that Grant has, he actually has permanent throwing daggers. And I think he has like throwing daggers, and then he can have like a secondary sub weapon. So in the Japanese version of the game, he's actually fucking bonkers. But I'd say he's still pretty good in the English version, and you guys are going to see why later on. He really doesn't start to pay off until the late game, which is good because the late game is when the game is at its hardest. I really like the way these trees look. I play this game and then I look at like and then I do the video editing on a different computer than the game that I usually play on, and then the on a different computer than the computer that I usually play the game on, rather. So the colors look like super vibrant here. I love the way those trees look. They're like weird, like reddish brown. The purple leaves. This is so cool. This game is so fucking good, man. I love this game. I love almost everything about this game. And my complaints, you will not, there's nothing in this video that I have to complain about. This is a showcase of pretty much the best parts of this game, in my opinion, is the Syfa Route and then taking advantage of Grant's movement capabilities. Although there's not any of that happening here. This is bog standard level 3. I don't get what that moving stuff in the background is supposed to be, I have to say. Like white stuff moving back there? Because that shows up again later in the like before the Dracula fight. Or no, it shows up in A1, and I don't know what it means. Maybe it doesn't mean anything. Uh, you can take Grant on the Alucard route. That's what that bottom path is. It's the beginning of the Alucard route. You can take Grant on the Alucard route, but you absolutely should not. The Alucard route is 100% designed around the use of Alucard. And Alucard and Grant are similar in that they both provide benefits to platforming and like give you movement options you wouldn't otherwise have, but it's just so much better with Alucard. And there are certain specific parts of the Alucard route which I'm not going to get into because I will eventually have Alucard route videos up where it is 100% intended only to be done with Alucard. So I've actually never done the Alucard route without Alucard, and I never will because the Alucard route sucks. And taking advantage of Alucard is the only thing that makes it like playable. I guess the one downside of Grant is that he's not like because he's so situational, he sort of feels he doesn't feel essential the way Alucard does, and he doesn't get a lot of usage the way that Sypha does. Like if you compare how much I've had Grant out by this point in the game compared to like how much I've had Sypha out in my Sypha route runs, it's like Sypha's always out. I'm like constantly shooting lightning at shit on the Sypha route. But Grant is not really he's not always relevant. He's not always a high impact spirit. But he's still actually my favorite spirit. It's hard to pick a favorite between Grant and Sypha. It's definitely not Alucard, but that's a discussion for another time. This fight, man, I hate this fight. Like, I thought this was cool the first time I did it. The fact that like you can just step on that little block down there to kill him, or the fact you can like throw crosses or boomerangs, as they're sometimes inexplicably called, just to kill him. But like, I hate this fight. I hate that little shuffle step he does back and forth. It's so annoying. But you know what? I can't complain about a fight that I can consistently clear without taking any damage, or without taking like more than one damage. Basically, however much damage I take in that fight is at my discretion. How like how risky I want to be, how aggressive I want to be. It's weird that she was trapped in a statue by a cyclops. I feel like this should have been like a Medusa boss, like a Gorgon. Take him with you? Fuck no, bitch. I got my boy Grant McNasty. Well, she's gonna be fine. I don't need to walk her home. She can get through the forest herself. Sypha's a beast. Sypha's fucking crazy. 4, the ghost ship, is fittingly where Grant is going to start to see some use. I don't know if this is supposed to be Grant's ship in the lore or not. I don't know anything about the Castlevania lore. I haven't read the instruction booklet. I pick up the axe there on Grant on purpose, and I'll get into why I'm doing that later. And I'm going to pick up the stopwatch on Trevor. Now, you might be wondering, Shovitar, you just had the stopwatch on Grant. Why are you getting the stopwatch for Trevor? It's because I specifically want Grant to have axes, and then either of them could have the stopwatch for what I have in mind for it, but I specifically need Grant to have axes for something that's going to happen later in the level. And that means the only character left is Trevor. Trevor has to get the stopwatch, and the stopwatch is mostly for 5C, uh, which we'll talk about when we get there. My catchphrase. 4 is so much more fucking forgiving on normal mode than it is on hard mode, man. Grant can actually go through this part super fast. See, if I wanted to, I could have Grant climb over the ceiling here. The reason I don't do that is because of that ghost that spawns there. If you just try to climb on the ceiling as Grant, then that you'll eventually run into that ghost spawning, and it's basically pointless. Like you skip one or two easy jumps, and now you're stuck with a ghost in an inopportune spot. So it's really not worth it. On the other hand, here, do I use him here? Yes, I do. Okay, good. Yeah, this is really useful. This is really useful. The fact that Grant can just get up there without worrying about the stairs, without having to walk into the skeleton. It's especially important on hard mode because there's going to be bats there. But for normal mode, it's just more of a convenience thing and less of a necessity. And then this is the other big thing that Grant accomplishes is this right here. This is so good. This is so good because over on the right off screen where you can't see is like a fucking bone thrower on top of a staircase and then like a fucking ghost, and it's just a shit show. And Grant just completely bypasses it. Grant makes level 4 half as difficult as it otherwise would be, which is thematically fitting. He's a pirate. He's on a pirate ship. He should know the layout of his own ship. You know what I mean? I'm guessing this is his ship. Okay, so this boss coming up, this mini boss, is extremely difficult to kill without taking any damage. He does like a surge forward thing that's like hard to deal with, but if you have Grant, you can just do this. You can stand right above him, and this fucker can't shoot directly upwards. You just rain axes on his head until he dies. And that's why I needed Grant to have the axes. Because only Grant can climb on the ceilings. Go figure. Man, that's so cool. And here's another, and it's like, see, this level 4 is so cool with Grant. Look at that. It's one thing after another with this fucking guy. God, I fucking love Grant, man. It's like, I just think about all the times I've been fucked with on 4B and 4D, and the number of times that fucking Gorgon boss has like walked into me and damaged me, and Grant just comes in and is like, I don't give one single fuck. And he just makes it all like so much easier. It's like a stain on a piece of furniture that's been there for like 4 years, and then one day it magically vanishes, and you just want to marry whoever the fuck got rid of it. And he makes this room easier too. He makes this room easier too, because I don't have to worry about because simply having another spirit who can carry axes means that I can have access to axes and the stopwatch at the same time, and it's like so beautiful. And then look at this, one thing after another, one thing after another. I don't have to go in the fucking basement with the ghost and the bone thrower in the tight. Oh my god, it's so Grant is so fucking cool, man. Grant is so fucking cool. See, all the companions are cool. I feel like all the spirits do awesome shit in this game. It's one of the things that makes it so good. Um, Having the stopwatch for 5C means that I have to fight the mummies with the whip, but I have a pretty good system for doing that now. Um, I wish I could remember the name of the guy who did it. I'll remember. I'll mention him in a description at one point in one of these videos. There was a guy whose video I watched. It was a 1LC second quest mode using the Akama code, meaning you don't have any companions, and that's where I got the idea for fighting the mummies in that way. That's exactly what he did, and I wish I could remember his name. I'll post a link to the video. Maybe not in this description, maybe in a future video, but I'll shout him out at some point. I'm sure he'll appreciate it. I'm sure he'll appreciate the 12 people who watch this video now knowing who he is and being able to enjoy his hard work. Unlike Sypha, Grant doesn't do anything to make the Cyclops fight any easier or any faster. Um, In fact, Grant would probably be uniquely unsuited for dealing with the Cyclops. If this was Japanese Grant, if this was the JP Grant, I'm guessing JP Grant could probably crouch on one of these platforms and just spam daggers at the Cyclops like nonstop. But I don't have JP Grant. I have American Grant. Look at that. That was a nice little. And I'm impressed with myself too. Whenever I do that, whenever I do like the rapid fire ducking, that means that I think I am the coolest guy who's ever played this game, and I just did something really, really impressive. That's what that's shorthand for. Because I get intense when I play this game, man. I get really into it. I'm passionate. I'm passionate about exciting video game stuff. What's interesting about level 5 is that even though level 5 is a super vertical level where pretty much every screen has some element of verticality to it, Grant is actually completely unhelpful for 5. Um, he's really only helpful in that he has axes, and that I can use the axes at a certain point later when otherwise I wouldn't be able to. But he doesn't help with any of this because all of the verticality takes the form of stairs. And I've complained about stairs in the past in this game. Pretty much the hardest rooms in this game, at least for the Syfa Route, almost all of them involve stairs because they limit your movement. But I think that the developers thought that using stairs for these vertical stages was like merciful because you can't get knocked off stairs. And I guess I will give credit where credit is due. If you could get knocked off stairs in this game, I mean that would be fucking. I mean 9-2 would be fucking impossible. 9-4 would be fucking impossible. A lot of stages would be fucking impossible. Oh, I forgot. Grant can actually skip this part. Okay, so see, he constantly surprises me. He constantly surprises me. As soon as I get finished shit talking him, saying he doesn't do anything, he goes and does that. Although that's not super impactful. That's more of a time save than anything else. It's not hard to kill that axe knight. It's just sometimes is a little bit tedious to do it without getting hit. And I'm stuck as Grant because he actually also makes this part easier. The reason that I said what I said earlier about him not being super impactful is because okay, he can do things like this, but this doesn't really matter because this part's not like hard and you can't go through it any faster than the game decides you can go through it. So the fact that Grant can do this is neat, but it's not really relevant. And I hate to shit talk my boy Grant McNasty, but that's just how it is. I guess this is neat. He can jump up to this little platform here instead of having to fuck with this guy. But again, it doesn't matter. Like it's irrelevant. The axes are relevant. Being able to axe that guy, a question, is relevant. Um, that's about it. Grant is not going to shine again really until level 9, but it's super important when he does. And I guess a little bit in level 6. But what we're coming up on here is 5C. You're going to see how I deal with this without lightning. Um, you can either cheese. There's a couple ways to cheese 5C, or I should. You know what? I'm not even going to say cheese. There's a couple ways to do 5C, because the way to do it without, like, you can do it without sub weapons if you're super patient and if you're super quick, but the ways to do it consistently are with either lightning for Sypha, which of course is not an option here. Oh yeah, this is what I wanted the axe for, because approaching this guy with just Trevor can be tricky. I could just stopwatch, go up there and kill him, but the thing is that the space up there is so confined that it's just tough to fight that guy safely. If I react a second too late on a low throw, for example, he could like damage me or knock me back. It's just not worth it. This is how you cheese 5C without Sypha. You go in there with a bunch of hearts, you conserve all your hearts in the previous levels, and then you come in and you just spam the stopwatch. I don't stopwatch here because this turret is really easy to kill. You're not on stairs, you can just duck and hit it and wait. But I think I'm going to stopwatch. Yeah, I'm going to stopwatch for everything else. This has the added benefit of getting through this level faster, which is not exactly a priority, but is just something that I appreciate. And if I wanted to, I could stopwatch for this bird also, but I have Grant here with the axes, so it's not necessary. I guess this is one thing. Another thing Grant helps with in 5 is just dealing with these birds without having to worry about like stopwatching when they're at the right height or something. So That's embarrassing. What I said at the start about Grant being totally useless in 5 is not technically true. It was true in spirit and that it's not super relevant, but it is nice. That's the thing about Grant. That's kind of what he's like. It's like he's not Sypha. He's not like a mega powerhouse that just demolishes the entire game, and he's not like Alucard, who's like completely useless 90% of the time, and then 10% of the time he's a god. He's like kind of in between. He's like intermediate. But the level of his usefulness is dependent on your creativity, on your ability to discern, hey, look at that ceiling, look at that wall there. I could have Grant climb up that shit to skip this, or I could have him get to this vantage point that I otherwise wouldn't be able to get to deal with this threat. That's why Grant is so cool, because you're interacting with the environment in a way that even Alucard doesn't. I hate this part. This part is so dumb. You know what I'm trying to do? Okay, I'm trying to duck. But if he throws low there and you're standing next to the stairs and you try to duck, you just go down the fucking stairs and get hit. You know what? I love this game, but that is actually one thing about it that's pretty dumb. The way that there's no other way they really could have done it with the stairs, but that is dumb. The fact that you can't duck when you're next to stairs and then they put a fucking armor knight there who makes you duck. It's like, come the fuck on. Speaking of Grant and creativity, you might think Grant would be able to climb across the underside of this path here that I'm on, and he can climb the underside of it, but he can't climb up the waterfall that's at the very edge. I was super excited when I thought of having Grant climb along the underside of this because this is like such a pain in the ass 6B, but it doesn't work. If you try to climb up the edge there, you just get hit by the waterfall and you fall down, or the waterfall pushes you down or something. So unfortunately, it doesn't work. But that's okay. It wouldn't be level 6 wouldn't be level 6 without 6B throwing fucking fish at you and knocking off a sector of health before you get to 6C. Grant unfortunately does not help at all with 6C. And I'm not going to eat my words on that one. He really doesn't help 6C. He helps you get 5 more hearts up on that platform there that the Igor is jumping down from, but he's not going to help at all in the next room. I get the 5 hearts here because of what I want to do to get through the birds and the fish before the level 6 boss, but it's not a huge deal. I could get this or not get this, and it wouldn't really make a difference. Yeah, it would be nice if, see, I tried to do like a route with Grant, like jumping on that platform that's above me right now and then climbing on the underside of that thing there that I just jumped beneath, but like it's just not worth it. It's never because the bats will just come at you no matter what. And once you get to this spot, it's like there was actually a cool thing I did with Grant once where I went along the underside of the platform that the Armor Knight is standing on, but for some reason it's really hard to get him up from underneath that specific platform. I don't know what it is, but it was like I could only actually get him up out from underneath it like 20% of the time. And it's hard to describe why. This might be something that you might not like be able to understand unless you control the, but it has to do with the way Grant controls when he's hanging on the underside of things. It's like you have to push the buttons in a very particular way that's not intuitive. The directional buttons, I mean. And it's just like so it was cool that I could do that and get underneath him, but it ultimately wasn't consistent enough to be usable. And I got the stopwatch back there with Grant for use here because I want Grant to keep to use here and because I want Grant to keep the stopwatch basically for the rest of the entire run. Trevor's going to want the axe for the level 6 boss, and then he's going to want the holy water for the doppelganger and for the grim reaper, but Grant wants the stopwatch the entire rest of the time. And this is really, yeah, what I just did there with Grant stopwatching to kill the birds, you actually can't really do with Trevor. Well, you can, but it's risky because the delay on Trevor's whip means that if you stopwatch and then stop to whip each of the stopped birds while they're on the platform, then the crumbling platform will catch up with you and you'll fall off, or it'll be like really close. You'll like barely jump on the edge, barely jump on the final platform and survive. So that's why I don't do that with Trevor. I only do that when I have Grant. Grant could technically make this boss easier by allowing you to escape certain situations that you otherwise wouldn't be able to, but this is a boss where there's always a solution, and if they pop their heads up, you should just try to hit them. You don't really have time with this boss to like escape a situation and to like do damage to them. Like if I were to switch into Grant and like jump away at any of these points, like by the time I switched back to Trevor and had the axe back out, they'd already gone back into the water. So switching to Grant here is it's basically pointless. Although it's tempting. It's like that's what makes Grant. I mean, Grant is tantalizing, man. He's a tantalizing little man because you keep thinking about things that he could get done. And some of them work and some of them don't work. This is actually interesting coming up. There are parts of level 7 that are difficult platforming wise that Grant is helpful for in sort of the same way that he's helpful for level 5, where it's nice to have him around for it, but it's not necessarily essential. This part coming up, I actually don't use Grant for these floating platforms that are coming up here, and I'll be able to explain why in just a second once I start going across it. So you'll see something. Okay, that platform up there that just showed up with the torch above it, if you play as Grant and try to go across those platforms there, sometimes when Grant jumps from the third platform to the fourth platform, he'll like bonk his head on the side of that those two blocks up there beneath the torch and he'll fall in and die. So ironically, or I guess counterintuitively, Grant is actually not as good for that section as Trevor is, unless you go super late. If you go late, then obviously Grant can get back up on the ledge when Trevor wouldn't be able to. But the rhythm that I have for it, like what the pace that I'm used to, means that Grant is risky there and Trevor isn't, so I just use Trevor. You know, Grant kind of reminds me of an Igor. Whenever I have Grant fight Igors, I always think of it as like Igor v Igor combat. Look at that! Did you see that? Oh, I'm so glad I got footage of that. That was so crazy. Yeah, I destroyed an Igor, and then a fucking ghost Igor appeared right when time unfroze. That's so cool. I'm so glad I got that clip. That's crazy. That must have something to do with the work, how like the harpies work. The harpies must like drop an Igor, despawn it, and then like immediately spawn another Igor or something. Or I don't know how it works, but if anybody knows how that works, if anybody knows why that happened, send me a message because I'm super curious. That's so funny. I'm so glad I got that because sometimes shit happens in this game when I'm not recording, and I'm like, oh, I fucking wish I got that. And this is a. It's always nice when like the run where the weird shit happens is the run that ends up being successful and the one that I end up uploading. Usually it's the other way around. Usually the successful runs are the horrible, embarrassing ones. But in this case, with the thing with like nothing interesting about them. But in this case, it's the opposite. This run is pretty good. This is pretty good. I haven't really fucked up significantly at any point in this run, and I'm not sure if I'm going to. It's been a while since I've seen this footage. Okay, so 7B here is where the platforming can get dangerous, and this is actually a section where Grant is helpful. I think at the time that I was doing these attempts, I didn't really have a good system for doing the last jump in the level, this jump here with Trevor. So having Grant available instead was really nice. I now have a good system for doing it with Trevor, so Grant is not as useful there, but he's nice to have, if only for peace of mind. Although the fact that he walks faster means it also is easier to accidentally walk off the ledge there with him because you're used to Trevor's movement speed, and then you do Grant's movement speed, and you just walk off the fucking edge. This fucking bird, man. These birds. I swear to God, dude. I like birds in real life, but the birds in Castlevania 3 can seriously go fuck themselves. These things are ridiculous, man. These things are all fucking ridiculous. This part is not ridiculous. This part is a non part, a non entity, a non event, a non scenario. This part there's nothing going on here that's worth noting, except I guess that you can jump off of one of those blocks when they fall. So coming up, the level 7 boss, the Monster Mash. Again, Grant doesn't make it any. What the hell? Okay, what? Okay. Sorry, I was confused there. Usually, because I get hearts over in the torches on the left there you saw, but this time I didn't do it. I have enough hearts. I don't need more hearts, but I might have wanted to get like a multiplier, a shot multiplier, just to make this like go faster. Because instead of killing these mummies super fast with a shot multiplier holy water, now I'm gonna have to take fucking pot shots at them and burn them down a bit at a time until they die. So this is boring. This is not good. Or I guess this is. Oh, look at that. That was cool. I got a double kill, but that took a long time. Much like with the mini monster mash on level 4, Grant does not help with this at all. Grant actually doesn't help with any boss fights. Now that I think about it, he can do a neat thing on Dracula, which I guess I'll talk about when I get to him. But it's not really. It's neat in the way that a lot of the things Grant is capable of doing are neat, where it's like, okay, that's cool, but it's really not necessary or relevant or necessarily even optimal. It's just a neat thing he can do. Um, Again, Japanese Grant, I'm sure would make this boss his fucking bitch, but U.S. Grant lost the ability to use throwing knives in an overseas accident on the way from Japan to the United States. I don't know why I fucking jumped there. I guess I think I'm doing Dracula Phase 2 from Castlevania 1, which this thing resembles in terms of its movement patterns and its abilities. I have a really hard time not taking damage from this thing. I think I'm about to take damage from it. Yeah, see, I don't know. I can't figure out this thing's fireball patterns to this day. If it shoots a fireball at me, unless I'm playing Syfa with lightning and I can just eradicate all of its projectiles, I'm probably going to get hit by it. I don't know. Maybe I should practice that specifically, like load up a fucking save state and like just make sure I have the patterns down because I've tried fucking everything, man. I've tried standing under it, I've tried standing across from it and trying to whip the fireball, but I always seem to miss it and then it like hits my feet. So I don't know. I mean, maybe Grant would help there. Maybe Grant could jump over them. I don't know. He actually probably could, but it didn't happen to be relevant there because I had so much health. Level 8, there are a couple things that I've thought about having Grant do because I feel like Grant could maybe no, he can't reach that high. It'd be nice if Grant could go along the underside of that top platform up the second set of stairs to just circumvent that armor knight because this is fucking tedious having to kill these guys, and it can sometimes go wrong. Not so much this guy, but the second guy can sometimes go wrong. Like if I'm trying to throw holy water just to like stun him or as like a safety feature, but I'm too close to the stairs. In fact, is that going to happen here? No, I kill him too fast. Okay. I can accidentally go up the stairs and then like accidentally going up and down the stairs is never something you want to do in this game. Even if it doesn't seem like it would be a problem, the fact is that you're now doing something you didn't mean to do and you're like discombobulated. Speaking of insane things happening, we might see something insane here. I don't know if it's this footage or some later Grant footage, but I'll see. No, it's not. It's not. Okay. Sorry to tease you guys like that. Sorry to fuck with you. But I promise I will be posting footage of the crazy thing that happens with Grant in this room. At some point in the future, you're gonna see it, and it's gonna be worth it. It's way more exciting than a random Igor spawning into existence. So keep an eye out. Give me a few more Grant videos. More interesting than this, obviously, which is why I'm talking about them instead of this. This is just like standard Trevor clear of level 8. I wish I had a shot multiplier on Holy Water right now, or right then. I'm sure I wish I did, just because. Oh well, there you go. I got my wish. Having a shot multiplier on the Grim Reaper is not super important once you have the pattern absolutely down of when you're supposed to stun lock him. But just like the Grim Reaper in Castlevania 1, having the triple shot multiplier just makes everything so much simpler. Grant, I wonder if Grant can climb along the underside of the collapsing thing. I mean, there's no reason to do it, but that might be cool to try actually at some point. I'm talking about this path that I'm on now. I wonder if Grant can like go underneath it and like stay ahead of it and not have to deal with this armor guy coming up. But like dealing with this armor guy coming up is not difficult. So it's another sort of neat Grant thing. For every sort of neat Grant thing, there's one like really cool, really relevant Grant thing. The Grim Reaper. Man, this fight is like I almost feel bad for doing this, like the holy water insta kill on this boss, because I think it's really cool. The design is actually really cool, but like the fucking scythes, man. The fucking scythes just come at you from angles you can't do anything about. They spawn like right fucking next to you. Like the game doesn't give me a choice. The game doesn't give me a choice but to cheese it. On my Sypha only run that I uploaded prior to this run, the only fucking time I died was on the Grim Reaper fight, and I had lightning. I had lightning. I had the thing that kills everything on the screen, and it didn't even fucking matter. Oh well. I almost did a commentary for the Sypha only 1cc, but like I started recording it and I realized I just had nothing to say because I already said all that I had to say about Sypha. So that's why none of the Sypha only runs are commentated. And I don't really have, like I said, I don't really have anything more to say about Sypha. I pick up the axe here. This seems convoluted. I pick up the axe here on Trevor, even though I want the holy water for the doppelganger, because I want the axe between the doppelganger and right now. And there will be an opportunity to get holy water again in 9-3 before the doppelganger. What I want the axe for is something very specific here at the end of 9-1 that's going to help me deal with 9-2. Dealing with 9-2 without Sypha is sort of like dealing with 5C without Sypha, where you have to be either very creative or very meticulous. And this is an example of, I guess I'd call it creativity rather than meticulousness. Meticulousness is going through on Trevor, following a very specific rhythm, only killing turrets with your whip, dealing with gargoyles as they spawn, and it's really hard. It's probably one of the hardest room clears in this entire game. But if you're creative, like I guess I am, or what the fuck? Damn, that fucking torch was invincible. But if you get a little bit creative, there are other ways to get around it that are not perfect, but are also not they're not like totally foolproof like Sypha Lightning, but they also are easier at least to execute and are more consistent to execute than maybe an unpracticed Trevor only clear of the stage would be. I'm farming hearts here because I'm going to stopwatch spam through 9-2. That's why Grant has the stopwatch still. That's why I've wanted him to have it since level 6. It's mostly for what's coming up here. And I think this is excessive. I don't think I really need this many hearts, but I guess we'll find out. Grant can also make the platforming here with the spikes easier. I don't know if I use him for it here or not. Let's find out. No, I don't. Okay, that's fine. There's a way Grant can like jump on the spikes on the platform part of the spikes and then jump over like the double-sided spike thing going up and down, and it's kind of easier, I guess, but like I'm also pretty accustomed to the timing of the Trevor jump there, so it doesn't really matter again. This is like this seems like a nice, easy cheese, but okay, like that right there. The turret that just shot at my feet down there, like if I was 1 second too slow on the stopwatch, that thing could have just fucking killed me. And there's a property of the gargoyles which you might see. Yeah, you see that? You see that? You see that way he just fucking shot up in the air? That happens because the gargoyles, the height and the depth at which they move, like the up and down motion, gets more intense the longer they're on the screen. It has nothing to do with their lateral movement. It's entirely how long they're on the screen, and the intensity of their vertical movement goes up even when time is frozen. So when time is frozen, they're slowly getting more and more like hyped up to like zoom up in the air, and then when time unfreezes, all of a sudden they shoot up like that. So that's why the stopwatch spam to get through 9-2 is not as like foolproof and totally safe and effective as the stopwatch spam to get through 5C because of the presence of gargoyles and because of that specific property that they have. Here, I could be using Grant to get on this platform instead of throwing axes at the armor. I don't know if I forgot or what, but yeah, as you can see, I stopwatch spam through 9-2, but I still took damage because of that property that the gargoyles have. And I'm guessing that's not intentional to punish you for stopwatch spamming. The skeleton has left the building, ladies and gentlemen. He's just fucking leaves. And that's like one of two things that first skeleton can do that's abnormal. He can either go left and vanish off the face of the earth, or he can go right and just totally fuck you. But none of it matters because I have Grant. Grant is what makes getting the holy water in 9-3 possible. Rather, Grant is what makes getting the holy water in 9-3 consistent, where like if you fuck up or if you go a little slow, you can still get it. If you fuck up or go a little slow, look at that. That guy, maybe that was the guy from earlier. He fucking phased upwards. He did like a TikTok clock up warp. I don't know. Or maybe he got airdropped in by a fucking eagle. Grant just makes this game like fall apart, I guess. Just makes goofy shit happen. But yeah, getting the right. Okay, yeah. So right now I'm pissed. I am super fucking pissed because the doppelganger is a fight that you really, really want holy water for. It's what I've gotten used to doing. It's this is another neat little Grant thing. Grant can bypass this last little sticky fuzzy thing and just get on the stairs without having to worry about that final jump. Usually I jump from atop the stairs on the left there over to the platform, the highest most platform with the fuzzball on it, then go up these right stairs. This way Grant can just go right to the stairs. But at this point I'm playing this out basically like as a like just to do it because I think the doppelganger is just gonna fuck me. Especially now I'm thinking that because now I'm on 3 HP after the fucking bat hit me. Um, Here's where Grant shines, though. Here's a little spot of positivity. This is like the most important thing Grant does is the fact that Grant lets you skip 9-4. 9-4 is the hardest room in the entire game if you're not using any compatriots. And Grant just lets you bait that bird, and then I'm going to freeze time in a second here, and then climb the underside of that platform and get up. I didn't freeze time. Oh no, I freeze time here. Okay, yeah. I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing. I freeze time there to get through it, and that is like water to a man dying of thirst in a desert, dude. Like getting through 9-4 without dealing with all that bullshit is the sweetest fucking thing in existence. But none of it matters because the doppelganger is just going to fuck me up, right? Because I don't have holy water. But I remember from previous attempts that sometimes the doppelganger can get like confused by altitude. So I'm trying to bait him up here in the hopes that I can like sort of spam him, and then look at this. Look at this. Yes. 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 Look at that. Oh my god, this is so hype. Fuck yes. Oh my god. And look at that. I'm so happy. Oh man, I cannot believe that shit, man. Whew. That was a fucking miracle. That was a fucking miracle that that worked. Because that doppelganger could have just jumped off there. He could have done all sorts of shit, but I managed to make it work. And now I really want to close this out so I can get that footage uh for the final video. God damn, that's so cool. Sorry if I sound like egotistical, like praising my own gameplay like that, but I'm really happy with how that turned out because that was like exactly what I wanted to have happen, and but I didn't think it would happen, and then it did, and this like ridiculous, not even really a mistake on my, I mean, okay, technically a mistake to accidentally pick up the axe there in 9-3, but like really the result of like an RNG drop there. And here I don't have to worry about getting the stopwatch over there on the right because I already have Grant who already has a stopwatch, which I'm not using for some reason. Okay, now I'm going to start using it. I guess I got cocky there and thought that I could get through this part without using the stopwatch because it's true that the second half of A1 is easier the more stopwatch uses you have, but like the stopwatch was made to be used in the first room of A1, dude. Like this room is what the fucking stopwatch is for. No question. Absolutely no question. And this is another thing that Grant does. He just comes in with a, that was fucking close. That was actually super fucking close. Um, because you need the stopwatch to get past this turret here. With Syfa, you can just shoot lightning from the stairs. Without Syfa, you just have to stopwatch. I'm sure there's like, if this was TAS, I'm sure there's a timing to get down the stairs without getting hit by the turret or getting hit by the fucking bat. But like, it's gotta be in fucking milliseconds. And now I have just enough hearts for one more stopwatch to get past this turret, which I think I execute this skip correctly. Yes. All right. Cool. Normally you can't get past that turret without taking damage, but Grant can do that little wall climb there to get past it. Not super relevant. If I get through the first room of A1 with 3 health and with like stopwatch usages, I'm pretty much guaranteed going to be fine unless I seriously fuck up. But it's another nice thing that Grant does. One of many. And we're going to be coming up shortly on the very last major benefit of bringing Grant on a run, which is the you know what? I should have held on to the axe. I shouldn't have picked up that holy water because if I had the axe, I could hit that skeleton guy from down here, and I wouldn't have to do the little dance where like I basically push him back by walking towards him while simultaneously keeping the red skeleton down. But if I had the axe, I could have just hit the red skeleton once, and then thrown the axe up and killed it. And what am I doing? Oh, I know what I'm doing. Okay, never. You know what? Never mind. I'm remembering now. I know why I took the holy water for Trevor. It's because with Grant, the fact that Grant can carry axes instead of Trevor means Trevor's item slot for the Dracula fight is technically open, so I can hold on to Holy Water for Phase 2 instead. And this is the last thing that Grant does that's seriously helpful, is the platforming with the bats, or the bat forming as I call it, in A2. And there, I didn't really showcase his capabilities very well because I got hit, but trust me, having a guy who can jump super high and who has actual air control on the A2 bat forming is like a very comforting safety net. And who can carry axes, which leaves Trevor, which is like it's another convenience thing. The only absolutely essential things that Grant provides in a run like this are the 9-4 skip, and that's basically it. Everything else is like varying levels of convenience. The level 4 skips are super nice. It's really mostly the 9-4 skip. I do not need this many hearts. 37 is enough hearts, especially with how I'm going to do phase two, but as always, I'm super fucking paranoid, and I guess I might as well just err on the side of caution, right? The last thing you want to do is fuck up a 1LC getting to Dracula without enough hearts. So there's, like I mentioned earlier, there's an interesting thing that Grant can do here in phase one. Grant can actually jump high up enough to get over the first two pillars of flame that Dracula sets up there. Like Grant can actually jump over those. There's no point really because jumping over them means either jumping into him or jumping too far away from him to do any damage. So like there's no reason to do it, but it's a neat thing. And here, yeah, that's what I use holy water for, just to do some mega damage to the phase two of Dracula at the start. Just a convenience thing, just to like get the phase done faster. I could do this whole thing with Grant if I wanted to. Um, and I'm going to be doing the rest of the Dracula fight with Grant. Grant helps on the Dracula fight in a similar way that he helps with other parts of the game, where it's more of a convenience thing. Because he can jump higher, it means that his effective range with the axe is longer. So he can hit Dracula from spots that Trevor can't. And you're going to see that once on the third platform cycle. The first two platform cycles leave all this space near the throne open, which is where I usually throw my axes from. Grant can also take more risks on the Dracula fight because he has air control. He can like jump on a platform and then he can actually kind of jump over those lasers if he has to. But this is the part where Grant makes a difference because if I was on Trevor right now, I would not be able to hit Dracula from this distance. Trevor cannot hit Dracula from the throne, but Grant can because of how high he can jump. So I can get through the fight just faster and take more safe shots. So it's nice. Grant demolishes phase one and phase two of Dracula, honestly. I didn't use him for phase two because I didn't have to and because of the holy water, but on phase two, he's also really good just in a casual sense because he can move faster. He can get out of the way faster. He can dodge around its like weird like mucus drippings. And here, again, he can move faster. He can dodge out of the way of these lasers and if I accidentally jump on a platform, he can get off it super fast. So it's actually really cool to me that Grant is good against Dracula. It's like he's getting his revenge, you know? Dracula killed his family. Dracula turned him into a fucking ghost. Get him! Get him! Atta boy. Alright, Grant McNasty brings it home. Stab in the air. You sit in that fucking throne, my man. And there it is. And I'm doing my victory dance, and that's the end. Grant Route, identical to Syfa, plus Clock Tower. Pretty fun, amazing doppelganger fight that I got super, super excited about and may have clipped my microphone while celebrating, but that's okay. That was my sincere reaction. I think I might have said that's so hype, which I'm not happy about, but that's what I said in the heat of the moment, and I'm gonna just have to live with it. I guess that's just how Grant stands. That little crouch he's doing. I guess that's accurate to the regular in-game sprite, but I never quite imagined that his standing posture would look exactly like that. This ending text is fucking weird. Grant will start to rebuild the destroyed areas of the city. I don't even know what Wallachia City is. I think this is the first time Wallachia City might be mentioned in the opening crawl. I don't remember. But I don't think Grant doesn't seem like a guy who'd be good at rebuilding things. I mean, I'm sure he's strong as shit. If you look at him in the box art, he's fucking shredded, but like it's just weird to imagine. I remember being unclear when I first played this game and got Grant whether Grant was supposed to be like a supernatural creature or not. Because he says like Dracula turned me into a ghost, and then you kill him out of you like beat him up out of his monster form, and now he's like I didn't really understand what turned me into a ghost meant. I thought he was still a ghost and he was like climbing around on shit and was like super acrobatic because he was some kind of weird creature, but I guess he's just a dude with like really sticky hands and feet and knees or something. And there he is, not taking the optimal route. Whoever took this picture was not playing correctly. Grant McNasty, the man of the hour. You know, not as flashy as Sypha, not as, you know, dramatic, I guess, as Alucard, but Grant holds a special place in my heart. I will never forget the first time Grant skipped 9-4 for me. That's when I fell in love. And you know what? I'm sure that there are still like Grant related things that I haven't figured out. Like things he can probably skip, things he can do faster. vantage points he can take to like deal damage without ever being at risk. I'm sure there's even more shit, and I'm excited to find that out because there will be more Grant videos after this one, and so stay tuned for that if you can. Yeah, that'll do. That's the ending. Bye.